Hi everybody, I am here with another reading progress update. For the record, I usually do these types of YouTube videos every 2 weeks, but since my life has been so hectic and busy with traveling and doing stuff with friends, I figured I would do another reading update because I went to the library to get some more books today. And I have more ratings to share with you guys. Okay, so first let's get started with the rereads. Some of these books are books that I'm most of the books in the stack of rereads are for the no. These are all, except for Writers and Lovers, all of the books that I reread were from the Manhattan, except for Don't Want You Like a Best Friend and Writers and Lovers. All of these other books were rereads. Okay, so this first book that I'm reading is actually on the banned books list. I don't know why it's been banned, but I have a feeling it's because it has to do with the Holocaust. This book is called The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This was one of the original books that I read last year when I first started the Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR. And I selected it because A, I love historical fiction books about World War II. B, because it's about a character like Rory who loves to read. So I think, this was also in Diary of Creativity's video about books that Rory Gilmore would read in the present day, and I totally think that if Gilmore Girls was on today, or if they did a new mini-series of A Year in the Life, this is a book that Rory would definitely read. In my reread, I am on page 157. The next reread that I read was Tuesdays with Maury. I read this for summer reading in high school, and the thing I like best about it is about a high school student's relationship with his professor. So this gives me vibes of like when Rory was interviewing Max Medina for the Franklin, like Maury is obviously an older teacher, but some of the wisdom that Maury gives to our main character in this book, this book is autobiographical, based on a teacher that the author, Mitch Albom, had when he was in school. So each chapter in this book is a lesson. He met with his professor over 15 weeks, and they talked about different topics. The topic that I connected to the most is probably I can just look at the table of contents. I don't need to look at the exact chapter. Let's see here. I think the chapter in this book that I connect to the most is one chapter I think I connect to the most in this book is probably, let's see. We talk about, we talk about death, the reason, which is the fourth Tuesday that starts on page 80. The reason why I picked this chapter as a chapter that I can connect to is because, as I have mentioned in previous videos, Matt and I both lost relatives who were very dear to us over the summer. And I guess in a way the chapter about family, which starts on page 90, also connects to that, because like when we were at the after funeral party for both Matt's aunt and my aunt, we were just sharing our favorite memories of our relatives, and it was a really good way to share things that made our relatives who have passed on special. So this book gets 4.5 stars. The next book is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I saw this play in high school. I do not remember whether or not we read it in English class, but I remember seeing it because it was my high school's fall play when I was a freshman. This play is by Arthur Miller, and it's about the Salem witch trials, and it focuses on two ladies named Abigail and Betty, who are accused of being witches. And this is a perfect play to read during Halloween season, so I would suggest you pick it up at your local library, or if it's playing anywhere near you, go see it. I have not seen it since high school, so I would love to see this play again. The next reread that I am currently reading is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma A. Albin. This is a female Regency romance, so it's a lesbian romance that is set during the time of Pride and Prejudice. So the way I feel this connects to Gilmore Girls is that like the ball that's in this book reminds me of the cotillion ball that Rory is in Introducing Lorelai Gilmore. I just started this book about 45 minutes ago, and I am on page 95, chapter 7. The next reread I am doing is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I met Lily King on Tuesday at Mechanics Hall in Portland because she had a release event for her newest book, Heart the Lover, which focuses on the main character in this book, Casey. So what I am doing is that I am rereading this book and rereading Heart the Lover at the same time, because the first part of Heart the Lover takes place during when this book takes place, when she's in school, and then the second part of Heart the Lover takes place when she's graduated and has a family. So right now, in Writers and Lovers, I am on, there are no chapter headings in this book, so I am on page 251. The next reread I am currently doing is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This book is a 5-star read. If you are a fan of the movie The Dead Poets Society, like me, you will really love reading this book. It is set in a prestigious boarding school like the one that Mr. Keating, who is played by Robin Williams, teaches at. And it's about a group of pretentious high school kids who study Shakespeare plays. And as a lover of Shakespeare plays, like Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream, this book is right up my alley, and if you are a fan of Shakespeare plays, you will love this book too. This book is a 5-star read, and that rating won't change. The final reread in my current cycle of reading is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. So I call this series, which is called the Dream Harbor series, the Canadian counterpart of Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. So, I loved this first book in the series, and I also loved the second book, which is called wait. Okay. I liked this first book, the Cinnamon Bun Book. The second book is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. The fourth book, which came out in March, is called The Strawberry Patch Pancake House. And then the next book that's coming out sometime next year is called The Daisy Chain Flower Shop. I mean, I like this book very much, and I liked the second book, but I really think that as the series has gone on, the writing tends to get a little bit repetitive, and I have heard other booktubers, I think Destiny Sidwell said this in one of her reviews, probably the one of the book that came out in March, the Strawberry Patch Pancake House. So, I think the reason why I like this book so much is because the character has a name that's similar to mine. My name is Janine. This book's character's name is Jeannie, and she inherits her aunt's bakery after she passes away, so she has to move to Dream Harbor, which is a small Canadian town, and she meets Logan, who is a local farmer, and I love the building up of their romance. It's very, very sweet, so I selected this from Manhattan's to Stars Hollow TBR for obvious reasons. First, the author's last name is Gilmore. Second, the male main character's name is Logan, who is Rory's boyfriend when she's in college. And then the town of Dream Harbor is very similar to Stars Hollow. Okay, this book is 4.5 stars, by the way, and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was also 4.5 stars. The Christmas Tree Farm, which is the third book, was 3 stars, because I thought that book was pretty mediocre, and it's definitely not my favorite Christmas book. And then the fourth book, which came out on March 11th, The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, gets 3.75 stars, which is relatively close to a 4. The next book is called Nocturnes by Kazuro Ishiguro. This is a translated author from Japan this is the third book I have read by this author. The other 2 books have been Never Let Me Go, which I found on an Instagram list for books that describe Friends characters, and this book was under Chandler's character, and I still can't figure out why the person who put the list together thinks that this book describes Chandler, because I didn't see any connection between the main male character, Tommy, and Chandler. But with this book is, I will read you what it's about. From the award-winning author of The Remains of the Day, an inspired sequence of stories is as affecting as it is beautiful. With the clarity and precision that have become his trademarks, Kazuo Ishiguro interlocks 5 short pieces of fiction to create a world that resonates with emotion, heartbreak, and humor. Here is a fragile, once famous singer turning his back on the thing he loves. A music junkie with little else to offer his friends but opinions. A songwriter who inadvertently breaks up a marriage. A jazz musician who thinks the answer to his career lies in changing his physical appearances. And a young cellist whose tutor has devised a remarkable way to foster his talent. For each, music is a central part of their lives, and in one way or another delivers them to an epiphany. I think this book is going to immediately get 5 stars. I love this author's writing style, and as far as which character from Friends and Gilmore Girls this book can describe, I think that's pretty easy. If you pause for a minute and think about which characters in each of these groups is a musician. For Gilmore Girls, it's Lane, and for Friends, it's Phoebe. The next book is also about music. It's called The Star of Camp Green by Joy Calloway, and I picked this book up on the adult fiction shelf at the library, so I picked this up on my own volition. I did not hear about it through Instagram or YouTube. This is set during World War I, and it focuses on a USO singer who performs for the troops during the war. I really loved the development of this character and how she grew as a performer throughout the book. I hope to find more books by this author at the library because I really enjoyed her writing style. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next book is called Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan is the same author as the Skyland trilogy, which I am still waiting for the 3rd book to come in at the library. I put it on reserve after it came out in March, and it's on back order. So this book is a sports romance that focuses on Iris, and August. August is a basketball player who is a pick for the NBA draft, and Iris is a college student who is in her last semester of college. The two go their separate ways after meeting at a sports bar one night. Iris is in an abusive relationship with the basketball rival of August. Kennedy Ryan has a really awesome way of writing about serious issues. In the Skyland series, she talks about divorce. She talks about autism. And I have no idea what serious issue the last book in the trilogy, which is Hendrix's story, tackles, because I have not read it yet. In this book, Iris's boyfriend sexually assaults her. So, I selected this for the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR because in Keg Max, Jess essays Rory during the party that Lane's band is playing at, and that moment in that episode is what made me despise Jess and not like him anymore. So that's why I'm really excited to watch more episodes with Logan, because Dean was okay in the earlier episodes, but I thought it was weird how much Lorelai was hyping him up, because it seemed like she kind of had a thing for him, which was kind of gross. And he was also kind of abusive to Rory and kind of controlling of her. And then I like Jess because he has more in common with Rory because they both like reading. But I think I'm gonna really like Logan because based on the one episode that I have seen him in so far, which is You Jump, I Jump Jack, season 5, episode 7, when the life and death when Rory gets invited to the Life and Death Brigade event where they're all dressed up in Regency costumes. I really liked how he encouraged her to get out of her comfort zone. I don't think Jess or Dean would have done that for her. The next book I just finished on the Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR is All the Way by Kristen Proby. I read this last month and I forgot to add it onto my story graph. So this book is by the same author as Wild for You. It's part of her Romancing Manhattan trilogy. And obviously the reason why I selected it for the TBR is because of the New York City setting. This book focuses on Finn in London. So these characters actually make me think of two totally different shows from Gilmore Girls and Friends called The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, which Cole Sprouse from Friends was on, because London Tipton, who is played by Brenda Song, is one of the main female characters in that show. And then Finn makes me think of the late Corey Monteith, who played Finn Hudson on Glee. I really love Kristen Proby's writing style. She paints a really beautiful picture of New York City in this book. I also am reading her series, The Wilds of Montana, which is where the series that Wild for You is in. So I am looking forward to reading her Halloween trilogy this month. The first book in that series should be coming out soon. It's coming in soon at the library. The next book is a new YA release called Falling Like Leaves by Misty Wilson. A couple of other booktubers have reviewed this on their channels. I think it was either Carrie Kid Reads, Brittany Grace, or Gabby Reads. So this book is awesome for this TBR because the author dedicates it to friends of Gilmore Girls. So this book, I feel, is perfect for season 3 because season 3 is when the characters are in the midst of applying to colleges like these two characters are. The main characters in this book are Ellis and Cooper. So Cooper, as you can see, works at the local coffee shop, so he would be Jess's character because Jess works at Luke's Diner, and Ellis is obviously Rory. And the town this book is set in, Bramble Falls, Vermont, is, again, like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, very similar to Stars Hollow. So if you have a teenager who's applying to college, you should pick this book up because I think they will enjoy it. The next book I am reading right now is called We All Fall Down, Living with Addiction by Nick Schiff. If you have seen the movie Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet, this book is by the recovering addict who that movie is based on. I saw that movie and read his dad's memoir last year, Beautiful Boy. I got Beautiful Boy as a recommendation from Destiny Sidwell. It was a 4.5 star read. The movie was 9 out of 10 stars on IMDb. I recommend both. So far, I am only on page 43. I just started this yesterday, so I'm not very far into it yet. The next book I am reading is called Show Don't Tell by Curtis Sitzenfeld. This is by the same author as romantic comedy. She also has written several other books, and the other one that I have read is called Eligible, which is a modern retelling of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So her books have gotten mixed ratings from me. Romantic comedy is neither romantic nor funny. I gave that book 2.5 stars. It's one of my least favorite books from Reese's Book Club. And then Eligible was good. Much similar to the... Eligible, much like Pride and Prejudice, gets a 5-star rating. I just started this book yesterday. It's a pretty quick read, and it's keeping me on the edge of my seat. I am on page 172. Again, no chapter number headings in this book, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what chapter I'm on. The next book is a novella that my art teacher Amelia wrote about ghost sightings at a writing conference. I just started this book a couple days ago. And the pages are not numbered, so I could not tell you what page I'm on, and I don't think this book is on Goodreads, so I can't even say what percentage I'm in. So, I'm really liking it so far. It's really good. Okay, so the next book I'm reading is Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. I heard about this book by a video that Gabby Rees did over the summer where she read lowest rating books on her friend Jan Agaton's TBR. And I don't remember if she liked this book or not. I haven't watched that video in a long time. So far, I literally just started this yesterday. I'm only on page 62. This is about a like a found footage show. So think of the Blair Witch Project, if you guys are familiar with that movie from the 1990s. That's what this book is similar to. It's about the filming of a haunted house reality TV show, and I love books like that. I love books like this, thrillers and horrors that are like mixed media. So this book has a lot of like transcripts from the TV show interdispersed among the chapters. So I can't wait to read more of this. And I think I might rate it higher than Gabby did. I don't remember this correctly, but I think she gave this book 2 stars. But we'll see how I like it. The next book is The Secret Chord by Geraldine Brooks. I have read a lot of books by this author, and she's one of my favorites. I borrowed this book from my mother-in-law, Sally, a couple of days ago when we went to Kennybunk to celebrate her birthday. And I started it yesterday. Yesterday I started it. Or no, I started it on Saturday night after we got home from Kennybunk. And I am on page 64, chapter 5. The next 2 books were recommended to me by Brittany Grace. So this is a series by Penelope Douglas, who wrote Credence and Birthday Girl, that is based around the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So it's a perfect book series to read during Halloween. I'm reading the first 2 books like back to back, and in Corrupt I am on chapter 24, page 344, and in Hideaway I am on page 256, right at the end of chapter 13. Oh, so this book is another reread that I forgot to mention in my list of rereads earlier. I read this book back in April or May, and this book is called The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, and I love the atmosphere of this book. It's set in haunted woods, so if you like scary stories that are set in the woods, kind of like Blair Witch Project, I think, then I think you'll like this book too. In my reread of this, I am currently on page 86. I just started this an hour ago, so I'm not very far into the reread yet. The final book on my TBR that I'm currently reading is A Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. This is the book that precedes A Thousand Splendid Suns. And I read these books out of order because I read A Thousand Splendid Suns back in July when I went on vacation. So this book precedes that book. This book is set in Afghanistan during the time of the war that happened in the early 2000s. So this book was on the banned book week shelf at the library. And I have a feeling it was banned because it came out during the time of the Afghanistan war. This book came out in 2003, which was when I was a junior in high school. So this came out the year after 9/11. And as I just said, I'm thinking it was banned because of the fact that it is set in Afghanistan, which at that time was a war-torn country. That's only my guess. If you actually know why this book was banned, please leave me a comment down below, because I really would like to hear why this book was banned, because I'm not totally sure. And the other banned book that I picked up at the library today is called A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I have never read this book before, but I know there's a really popular movie based on it that came out in the 1980s. So if you have seen the movie, let me know if I should watch it after I read the book, because I'm always looking for good movies to review for the entertainment blog as well. So I will be back at the end of the month with my thriller horror deck, with my updated tier ranking list for thriller, horror, dark academia books to wrap up the Halloween season. And then next month for November, I'm going to be doing a thematic TBR that is based on Taylor Swift's new album that came out on Friday called The Life of a Showgirl. So I will be looking through the reading lists on Instagram and putting together my TBR based on that. And I'm also going to be continuing the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR next month. For the next 2 months, Kathleen and I are reading The Book Thief, which I talked about earlier. We're reading The Wake Up Call by Beth O'Leary. We're reading Lauren Graham's memoir, Talking as Fast as I Can. We're reading Wild for You by Kristen Proby, and we're reading Winter Stroll by Elin Hildenbrand. And also we read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which was her re-release from last September. And I do not understand why Intermezzo was rated so highly by other readers. I can't see why it appeals to people, because we both didn't really like it. We thought the pacing was too slow, and we both stopped reading it at around the same point. So I gave Intermezzo 2.5 stars, which is the lowest that I have ranked any of Sally Rooney's books. Beautiful World, Where Are You? Gets the same rating. Then up from there is Conversations with Friends, and the female character in that book, her name is Frances. Her sarcasm is incredibly similar to Chandler's. Then the next book that I ranked is Normal People, which I gave 4 stars to. The one thing I do not like about Sally Rooney's books is that she does not use quotation marks when people are talking. So when people are having conversations, you can't really tell when sentences are done because there are no closures to the sentences. So it's just like an ongoing stream of consciousness with no quotation marks. So Kathleen and I will be doing our next podcast. We're filming our next podcast episode on October 24th at Double House. We will have a special guest on. As people know, I am self-publishing a fan fiction based on Friends and Gilmore Girls, and I found a local artist that's going to illustrate it. So she is going to be on the podcast to talk about her artwork ideas, and then Kathleen and I will be reviewing Bride, Beach Read, Heartburn by Nora Ephron, the Freedom Writers Diaries, Frankenstein, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And for movies, we're going to be reviewing Patrice, and for TV show episodes, we are reviewing the 4th episode of season 1 of Parenthood with Lauren Graham and Peter Krause, called The Deep End of the Pool, which focuses, the serious issue this focuses on is autism. So thank you for tuning in.